And welcome to Thrift Shop Biography. This is the one about Rebel Wilson. Thank you for listening. Hello, I'm Richard.
And I'm Cleo.
And welcome to our podcast, Thrift Shop Biography, where we read memoirs and autobiographies of interesting people.
That we find in thrift shops, or op shops, or charity shops.
And then we go home and read them on our own, and then we don't talk about it until right now. Are you ready, Cleo?
I am.
Good. Hello, Cleo.
Hi, Richard.
How are you?
I'm all right. Yeah. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really well, thanks, because I've just been reading the autobiography Rebel Rising by an Australian actress called Rebel Wilson. Do you know her?
Yes, I do know her because she's standout hilarious. She can turn the tiniest part into an absolutely brilliant part by being really, really funny.
Yeah, she really can just, she'll be given a cameo in a movie and she'll completely steal the whole thing, won't she?
Yes. And that might be really annoying to other actors, but for us, the audience, it's just great. She's so funny. I probably saw her first in Night at the Museum, where she's just a security guard, and she's just hilarious. And then after that, I sort of look out for her. I think I've seen The Hustle. I don't really watch those Bridesmaids, Pitch Perfect, haven't seen them.
Oh, well, you have to. Come on, are you kidding?
Really? Are they really good?
Bridesmaids is an enduring comedy classic, already one of the all-time comedy great
Is
films.
it?
Yeah. Oh, everybody's brilliant in it. It's so, honestly, I've watched it 27 times. It's up there with Wayne's World and Clueless.
This is why you've never seen Dirty Dancing. You're too busy watching other films 27 times.
No, Bridesmaids is really good. In fact, I would say just go and watch it now. Let's stop recording. Go and watch Bridesmaids now.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I will watch a film because she's in it, if you know what I mean.
Me too.
Yeah, I think she's great.
I feel exactly the same.
Yeah.
Oh, well, good. We come in as fans.
Yeah, we are fans. I thought this book I really, really loved it. And it surprised me, like the first 20 years of her life. I was constantly like, wow. Even though I loved her in her films, I didn't know anything about her.
No. It's a really good sort of journey through Australia and Australian ordinary life, as opposed to backpacking up the, Uluru. It's just like what it's like to live in the suburbs.
Yeah, the English experience of Australia is just backpacking, really.
Yeah, or neighbours.
Oh, no, neighbours.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we get into it?
Yes, let's do that. Melanie Elizabeth Bounds.
Not her real name.
That's her real name.
Oh, no, that is her real name.
She was born in 1980.
Yes, Rebel Wilson.
I haven't quite worked out where the Wilson comes from. Have you?
Oh.
Was it her mum's maiden name? I don't know.
Oh, do you know what? I didn't. There's a lot of conversation in this book about her first name, Rebel Melanie.
Exactly.
Didn't even occur to me.
Yeah, her mum wanted to call her Rebel and kept telling her that's the name I would have called you. But then she says, at a certain point when she decides to become a different person, she changes her name to Rebel. But legally, she never mentions the second name.
Well, her dad didn't want her to be called Rebel because her dad always had plans for her from birth to go to the posh Catholic school.
That's right.
And he was worried that they wouldn't want a pupil called Rebel.
Yeah.
So she got called Melanie Elizabeth.
Yeah, I know. Where did that come from?
Yeah, so it didn't occur to me at all that she was called Wilson. I didn't even question it.
No. She thinks that her aunt told her that her great-great-aunt married Walt Disney.
Yeah.
And she says, I've never verified that, but it doesn't matter because in my imagination, I'm related to Walt Disney and she's absolutely obsessed with Disney. Well, I just looked it up, like literally 20 minutes ago. And Walt Disney's wife's original name was Bounds.
Was it?
Lillian Bounds. So I think it might be.
Yeah, no.
She might be.
I've no reason to think that she's not. But I think it's been disputed, hasn't it?
I've no idea.
Because there's it comes later in the story, but there's a big court case about her being a serial liar.
Oh, yeah.
And so her whole past was investigated. And the only thing that couldn't be verified was that her aunt married Walt Disney.
Oh, right. It couldn't be verified.
That doesn't mean it's not true.
Oh, okay.
But it would have only been in the 50s and 60s. So you would have thought it was probably easily to verify.
Yeah, you would have.
Well, look, I'm not going to dispute that. If she wants her aunt to be married to Walt Disney, I'm happy to go along with that.
Yeah, I know. I am too. Let her have that.
Yeah, Walt Disney wasn't a very nice man, though.
No. Yeah, but she loves Disneyland. Anyway. classic. Like, you could never read a book about Australia without having an interesting family past, because unless you are a native of that land, your people are going to have come from all over the place with some stories attached to that. Because it wasn't even an easy journey, even whoever you were.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, her great-great-great-granddad was a doctor from England, and he was really well respected and treated the poor for free, and he had a hero's funeral in 1926.
Yeah.
Which actually sounds really recent, 1926 to me, for a great-great-great-granddad.
It's because it was just her great-great-granddad, not her great-great-great-granddad.
Was it?
Yes.
Oh, right.
You've added a generation.
Oh, I did it. Oh, yeah. But anyway, so that's a little snippet. And then her great-grandma, I think on her mum's side, also came from the UK, and she brought over a lot of beagle dogs.
Yeah.
And that was their thing.
I mean, it sounds like she introduced beagles to Australia, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she started the Beagle Club of New South Wales. And, I mean, it's just, they're obsessed with dogs.
Yeah, beagles.
To the point where dog-themed house they've got, dog knocker and dog toaster.
They got a dog knocker.
Yeah. I don't know how you make that sound wrong, but you do.
Yeah, they got a dog knocker.
And then there's this whole stuff with her dad that comes up on and off. Basically, her dad was going to be really well schooled, and it was all going really well until he was 18, when his dad was brutally murdered.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he was found in his car, and they tried to put it down as a car crash, but he was in the passenger seat.
Mm.
So he'd obviously been murdered. Nobody knows why, and her dad wouldn't talk about it until her dad's funeral.
Oh, yeah.
When somebody says he was drug running for the notorious drug dealer of Australia at the time, she's like, you what? So it seems like her dad was actually, because he'd got fired from the bank where he did work under mysterious circumstances that nobody knows. So he's obviously somehow in with the mob, the Australian mob, which is probably could be why his dad was murdered.
Yeah, right. Perhaps his connection to the Australian mob may have been because his dad was part of the mob and got murdered, so the mob kind of probably looked after from 18 years old onwards or something.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, they didn't look after him that well because they didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? And well, you know what? He used to gamble a lot.
Yeah, he was really into gambling. Actually, that's true. They could have earned more money than they did, but he gambled it all away. So anyways, it sort of, on the surface, looks like this really nice suburban lifestyle and family, but it's pretty messed up. It's pretty dark undertones, isn't it?
Yeah.
This family.
And Mum and Dad were really not getting on quite soon.
No, they didn't get on either.
Yeah.
They managed to knock out 4 kids over a large period of time, but whilst not getting on at all.
Yeah.
And they lived in Balmain. She was born in Balmain, which is a suburb of Sydney.
So Sydney, Rebel's the oldest, right?
Yeah.
And then she's got a sister who's a couple years younger called Liberty.
Yes.
And then a few years later, she has another sister and a little brother.
Another
right? So
boy,
there's 4
another
kids.
sister. Yeah, eventually 4. Yeah.
So they just have an Australian suburban life with lots of dogs and unhappy parents.
And she teaches us this word bogan, which I never knew. Did you?
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it.
Oh, really?
Oh, you learned it from being in Australia?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Does everyone say
I
it?
know lots of bogans. Yeah, no, I would say it's like the Australian equivalent of chav.
Chav or trailer trash in America.
It's
Yeah.
very, very common. Yeah, it's just part of the daily lingo.
It's really funny because since I learned this word in this book, I've heard it in Neighbours.
Oh, I was going to say, do they not say it more? Mind you, Neighbours
Yeah,
is...
Sheila in Neighbours, she's like, what do you think I'm some bogan, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God, there's that word. And if I didn't know it, I just wouldn't have noticed it. So Rebel, when she was a kid, she had a mullet. It's classic. She had a bogan mullet, mate.
I love Australian slang.
Yeah. What else is there?
Rack off, you drongo.
Ah, brilliant. Oh, yeah, we got rack off from Neighbours back in the day.
There's actually, I was on TikTok and there's a super cut of Home and Away, just the times that everybody said rack off, and it lasts for about 20 minutes.
Oh,
And
really?
it's every character from Home and Away over the years go, rack off.
Brilliant.
It's so good. I watched the whole thing.
You galah, flaming galah. Isn't that a bird?
Yes.
Oh, excellent.
Anyway, Rebel.
Anyway, all in all, it's a funny old family.
But dogs kind of dictated their lives,
Dominated.
didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were
Totally.
always going to dog shows and stuff. Their dogs actually had agents.
Yeah.
And they would get on TV. So they were like TV dogs as well.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how much money's in that until when she was 7, her dad bought this massive caravan. Apparently that's a trailer in America. I can't exactly quite picture it. But it's a massive vehicle. And they put pet cetera, etc. on the side of it. And that was their new business.
I love that.
Yeah, she said they're like one step away from carnies. They're just basically on the road selling pet products and bits. Going to all the dog shows. It's very wise.
And her mum would also show the dogs.
Yeah. So their life was then 100% dogs.
It was actually, they thought that Rebel would grow up to take over the dog showing business. But of course she didn't. But her sister did. Liberty did. She did it for like 20 years or something, her sister. But yeah, no, Rebel doesn't even really like dogs that much, does she? Is she allergic or something?
She was always uncomfortable around them. And then when she was an adult, way after all this, she had herself tested and found out she was allergic to dogs and cats.
That's really unfortunate.
So it wasn't great for her, was it? I know.
Oh,
I know. And her mum made her do the junior training or whatever it was called, junior showing or something. So
yeah.
But she reckons, this is interesting because she actually reckons that if they had the means to diagnose these things back in the day, in the 80s, she's born in 1980, yeah, that she would have probably been diagnosed with a social disorder because she just actually couldn't relate to anyone, couldn't talk to anyone. The textbook loner.
Yeah.
And they'd say, go and play in the playground at lunchtime. She was so terrified of it that she took to spending her lunch in the toilets, literally sat in the toilet for an hour. Eventually she goes, I don't want to sit here whilst I'm eating my lunch. I've got to do something about this. And she decides, I'm going to create a character that I can be that allows me to go and interact. She is such a born actress.
Yeah, I mean, that got so bad. Her social anxiety got so bad that at one point when a teacher said to her, you have to go outside and play with the kids, and she really didn't want to anyway, this other girl came in and started leading her out. And just as she was about to go out into the playground, she fake fainted.
Yeah.
So that she didn't have to go. That's how bad. And her mum came and got her. And then so she had to keep the ruse going that she'd fainted. Because that's how bad it was. It was like she physically couldn't step through that door. Yeah.
Social phobia, yeah. That's a thing.
Donny Osmond had that, didn't he?
He developed one later in his life when he was basically having a breakdown. Yeah, and they actually said one of the symptoms is that you think everyone's talking about you, but around that point they probably are. You know, because it perpetuates your very fear, you know.
It's weird. We read it a lot about these kids before they become famous adults. They are quite often cripplingly shy.
Yeah. And definitely alone.
Yeah, that's kind of like the personality that drives you to seek, ultimately, attention of lots and lots of people, but not on a personal level.
And avoid actual intimacy of any sort.
Yeah.
Real intimacy, yeah.
One thing I really liked about this book is how honest she is about being fat.
Yes.
There are no excuses here. She's totally saying, I just love sweet food. I love cookies and chocolate and lollies and ice cream. And I eat it because it makes me feel good. I find comfort in junk food. Quite often when people talk about weight and stuff, there's always an excuse.
Yeah.
It's always for one reason or another. And she's like, I'm fat because I just like trashy food.
Yeah.
I found it so honest and I loved reading it. I found it quite helpful reading that, actually.
Did you?
Yeah.
But yeah, because all the bad food tastes amazing. We mustn't forget that.
It is addictive. Like sugar is totally addictive.
Yeah, they do.
She says she just thinks she's one of the people that was made, like sugar has a similar effect to cocaine in her head. And she says people have commented when she's eating like a bag of sweets that her eyes sparkle.
Oh.
It's obviously a lifelong thing that she deals with. And it is an addiction. And it's not great at times in her life. And you know what? It's just most people, we've read a lot of these books and a lot of people talk about their addiction to alcohol or drugs. And this is the first person who's honestly talking about food as a go-to support mechanism.
Yeah.
But herself and the people around her know it's also a problem because her mum really gives her a hard time at various times in her life. But then you see her mum was quite big as well. So I think it could be a generational thing.
It could.
These things are often generational, aren't they?
I mean, Her mum's knocked out 4 kids, let's not forget, and has an asshole as a husband who is putting her down all the time. She literally says, her dad comes in and goes, all right, how was your day, you lazy fat cow?
Yeah.
And then goes to her, oh, hi, lovely, how are you? How was your day? And he's like,
Yeah, he has a lot of anger.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you don't always have to eat because you're depressed or it's a crutch. You can sometimes eat because you like the food, but there is also a sort of safety valve in most humans that know they've got to survive, and surviving is healthy. And you would balance that with moderation and to know I've got to be fit, healthy. And if that's down, something is wrong a little bit mentally because you are destroying yourself. And I know when she's young, it's a bit better. So her mum would say, stop eating that ice cream. And she'd go, but you're fat. She'd go, yeah, but you're young. You can do something about it. It is dangerous to really overfeed. You wouldn't overfeed. Sometimes you do see really fat dogs or cats and you think that's not fair because they don't have the ability to say no. They just eat what you put in front of them. So it's your mum's duty to actually try not to explode their child. Anyway, it wasn't a problem, but it does get really out of hand.
I know, but you say like the mum, like it's the parents got to keep an eye on their kid to make sure it doesn't get out of control, which her mum does. But then Rebel is saying that she started walking to school. And her mum thought, great, she's doing it because she's active and she wants to get exercise. Actually, she walked to school so she could stop at the sweet shop.
Yeah.
And she bought a big bag of sweets.
Yeah.
And she'd sit at the back of the classroom and eat sweets all the time. That's out of her mum's control.
I know. And I'll tell you what else. All this time she's overeating. She does say all the joy she got out of the whole world was food.
Yeah.
She didn't have much other joy. So you kind of got to give her that. But all that time, she was really physically active.
Yeah,
she was really good at sports. I mean, she's strong. She's big, but she's strong. So I guess she didn't get really unhealthy until she got more messed up mentally later on, I'd say.
Yeah.
She was doing all right. She was a fit, healthy, larger girl, which was all right for ages.
Yeah.
All right, we sorted that out.
So her dad, that's a complicated relationship with her dad because he hits him, doesn't he? She writes in here that he's got a very bad temper and he lashes out at the kids, but also he's really, as Rebel becomes a teenager and he does start going to the gym with her and stuff. So you're right, she's very active as well as eating lots at the same time.
Yeah.
But he's always saying stuff to her like, your mum loves those dogs more than she loves you. He's really trying to drive a wedge between Rebel and her mum.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a real complicated arsehole, isn't he?
He is. Yeah, and his anger can just flare up out of absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
And might go away for ages and then just flare up again. So you're constantly anxious. That will make you eat.
Yeah.
As well.
For sure.
Major anxiety. She doesn't even say that, but that's what it causes.
And then they move out of the suburb and they actually get a bigger property with 5 acres.
Yeah.
Out in the middle of nowhere. And she actually says that was quite isolated, living out there, but then they had another kid and stuff. But then it's at this point that Rebel does go to the posh private school, the Tara Anglican School for Girls, which is what her dad wanted for her from birth. So it's odd, actually. Like, her dad is this angry man, but he's very sure that he wants his kids to have a proper good education. And he has to pay for it. But Rebel kind of says as well, she thinks a lot of his anguish comes from the fact that he's trapped because he has to earn the money to send his kids to these posh schools.
Yeah.
And like, he'll have his job and do the dog company and stuff, but then he goes and works a part-time job in the evenings as well.
Yeah, petrol station.
Yeah, just so his kids can have this good education.
Yeah.
But then he also is gambling the money away as well.
Yeah.
He's a nightmare, isn't he?
He is a nightmare. Yeah, because he's really into horses and he teaches her how to bet on horses and stuff. Yeah, so he's spending a lot of the money they might have earned.
So she's at an all-girls school?
Yes.
Hey, you went to an all-girls school, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I did. And we had a really good year where there wasn't bullying, but there was bullying in every other year.
Or maybe you were the bully, so you didn't notice.
No. Oh, yeah. No.
There's somebody listening to this now going, oh, Cleo, she's
that bitch. Actually, all girls' schools, all boys, all schools have bullies, but she said she made herself invisible so she wouldn't get bullied. So instead of the toilet this time, she just hid out in the library. So she spent all her lunch times in the library. She really doesn't work with social environments, don't she?
Yeah.
But then, anyway, she got really... Oh, yeah, she had a wonky front tooth as well, so she never smiled. Oh, my God, she had some dark times growing up.
Aww.
But then she got really into rap, and she related to rap because all the rappers wanted to be wealthy and have prestige and swagger, and she was like, yeah, that's what I want. So she got a rap group together with her sister.
With her little sister.
Yeah.
That's so cute. They actually performed, didn't they?
Yes, they went to a talent show and they didn't win or come anywhere. They just got highly commended. She was like, that's it, we're going to get a record deal. We've made it.
So, it's that dichotomy of being cripplingly shy.
Yes.
But actually wanting to get on stage and
Perform. Very strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then out of nowhere, she turns up to school and this girl threw her a 13th birthday party at lunchtime.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, so she thinks she's invisible and suddenly people are nice when she's got friends. So that's nice. And then the other thing that pulls her out of it is when her mum just drops her at a drama class and drives away, which my mum kind of did to me.
Did she really? She really didn't want to go. Did you want to go?
I might have a little bit, but when I got there, I was like, absolutely horrified that I was dropped.
Did you stick it out?
Yeah, no, it was an audition. It was a play. I was actually in a play then. So it's the same sort of thing.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
But I was 10. She was 13. And nobody's got confidence for that sort of thing. But it's just like dumping you in the pool and you either swim or you don't.
Yeah.
And she swam and I swam and she swam. And what it does, because I'm not an actor now, but it does your confidence so much good.
Yeah.
You know, drama's really good. I find it a shame that people go to drama school or do things like that because people say because then you can be an actor, but actually you should just do it for your life.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just makes you have to talk to people and have to just get over it, doesn't it? Not be so shy.
Yeah, definitely. It's like I know a couple of people from the corporate world who actually took classes in stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
Not that they wanted to be stand-up comedians, but they just wanted to grow with their presentation skills and having more confidence in situations and being able to think. A lot of corporate people go and do improv classes
They
and
do.
stuff.
Improv, it's true.
Yeah, it's beneficial. In fact, when I was reading this book, I kind of thought to myself, I wonder if I should just go and take some classes.
Yeah.
Because I've really become a bookworm and I don't go out and talk to people anymore. And I thought I need to get back into it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I actually thought, it's probably good to go and take some classes once in a while, just for your daily life,
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's really good for you. Yeah, it certainly turned her around.
Yeah.
Definitely did, I'd say. It really would have helped her loads.
That was a good call on her mum's part because...
Really good call.
Rebel, like you say, she was in the library a lot. But what actually that meant is that she became very bright and very well read. And actually, when she was in the 7th grade, she won a prize because she was one of the top 5 girls in her class academically.
Yeah.
So she's a super brain here.
She is a highly intelligent person. You have to be really, really clever to be funny. You know, your brain has to work 20 times faster than everyone else's to come out with that quip really fast, Definitely, she's amazing.
And she's always high on sugar as well, which
right.
keeps her. It's like drinking 5 cans of Red Bull, isn't it?
Yeah.
Eating all that sugar. You're just on it constantly. Then you go home and crash. Yeah,
I guess she does. Well, okay, so that helped her. And then also one of the dogs didn't get into 42nd Street. So her mum said, we've got to go and see that show to see which bitch got the job. Meaning dog. And they did. And it changed her life, seeing 42nd Street. And then she started going to see a lot of musicals. And musicals became her happy place, which it works for a lot of people, that musicals thing. It's a thing.
I know, it's amazing. Like, she's totally a gangster rapper.
I know.
And then she goes to her first musical and she says she's so happy she's crying. And it felt like she was lifted out of her seat and flying around the theatre. That's amazing. She was probably ate a lot of sugar that day as well.
Yes. But it's really a thing. I mean, obviously, sort of famously, a lot of gay men really find their voice is there in the musical and latch onto them. And she's the same. But where it's more than just fun, where it actually is all consuming your passion. Because she's just written a musical. It's just coming out about now.
Oh, really?
2025-ish. Yeah, she's written
What's
it.
it about?
Trying to fit in at your high school or something. Probably about her.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, she really loves musicals. And then she listens to these motivational tapes.
Oh, yeah, she finds them in her dad's car. How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah, which completely changed her life.
Yes. Have you ever read it?
No. Why does it work?
Well, it did for her.
Have you?
No, I haven't. But I kind of, again, when I was reading this, I was kind of thinking, well, whether I should read it. I could win some friends and influence people.
Yes.
Sounds nice, doesn't
She
it?
literally took it as lessons. She was like, right, I need to do this to get more friends. I need to do this to become popular. This. She actually implemented all these things and it worked.
It did work.
She ended up being really popular in her school.
So this shy little fat girl who totally hid in the toilet eating her lunch or then stayed in the library, when she became a teenager...
She rose.
Yeah, she's getting more... Well, from the acting class, of course, which is getting her confidence. She finds that performing as characters is another type of shell she can wear. And then she's listening to her dad's self-motivation tapes. So all of this is happening. But I think for these things to happen, there is kind of like a will inside. She has to want to do it.
And then this teacher, well, there's this boys' school next door, the Kings. She said it's kind of like Eton in Britain. It's really posh. And there's Mr. Haig is the teacher from Zimbabwe, the drama teacher, and he really sees her potential and starts casting her in things. Because when they need girls in their shows, they cast them from the girls' school. By the time she's 16, she's doing really well in these shows. She gets cast as a lesbian. And there's only 3 people in it. It was really, really hard, sort of technically hard acting. And she nails it. And it was offered to even transfer into the city. But they couldn't do it, so they were doing exams. So she's really becoming a noticed good actor.
Yeah.
That's really where it's kicking off.
Yeah, it is. And because of this, like, her popularity is growing at school.
Yeah.
So she's been in a few shows at this point. And Mr. Haig is so encouraging to her. And then she does this 3-hander. And everybody is just like, wow, this young girl is a really good actor. And then she's like, oh, right, my exams are coming up, so I'm giving it all up because I have to concentrate on my schoolwork.
Yeah. And
she did.
Yeah. And that's partly because of the pressure that her dad had taken on 2 jobs just to pay for her. So she really felt like she couldn't let him down. Oh, my God, though, she worked so hard. She was in the top 1% of her entire school. She got 98.9% in her exams.
Yeah, and I love that she points out that would be 99.3 these days. I love that she inched it up slightly just to let us know how that compares to today. 99.3 in today's money. But she also said when she achieved that, there were no celebrations at home because that was expected of her.
Yes.
Because her dad basically did give up his life to fund his kids' education. It was just like she had to be perfect.
Yes.
I was amazed that every girl at that school kind of wanted to be a lawyer, really. It's like they were grooming them all for a life in law. And like she finished with an amazing grade, which meant she could go to any law school that she wanted to. She literally had her choice. And then she doesn't talk about it much in the book because I don't think she can. But she was witness to a massive crime.
Oh, yeah.
And she went to court to be a witness in this massive court case whilst the criminals were in the courtroom. Because of that, there was, I don't know who was the judge or somebody in the courtroom, saw this young girl bravely go up against these criminals at the age of 16. They were so impressed with her. They said, do you know what? You should apply for this thing called the Rotary Youth Ambassador Program, which sends kids all across the world to, I don't know, be a good Australian.
To be spokespeople, do public speaking about Australia. It's really amazing.
It is really amazing. And she ended up going to South Africa on her own for a year when she was 16.
Not only that, but they only picked 2 people out of the region. So to pick her and this other fellow called Snickers, Friend for Life. Great name, Snickers. From Nick.
Yes, and then off she goes.
Yeah, life-changing. Really, really life-changing. Yeah, because she actually said the best lesson she got out of it was just perspective. Because there she is all worried about her life and her dad, this and that. And then she realised that South Africa, AIDS, violence, poverty, kidnapping, malaria, all this. She's like, oh, yeah, everything's fine.
Yeah.
And also, it's there that she gets malaria and has a morphine dream, which was so real that it changed the course of her life.
Yeah.
Which was, she was an actress and she won an Oscar and she went up on stage. She did a acceptance rap and it was 100% real to her, so it totally changed her life.
It's amazing, isn't it? Like at that point, she's coming to the end of her thing at South Africa, gets malaria, and then she's going to go back and she's going to go to the law school of her choice to become a lawyer. And then she has this absolute hallucination of being an actress. And all of a sudden, she just wakes up and says, I have to go back to Australia and I have to become an actress right now. And so she leaves South Africa a month early. She says everybody's looking at her like she's completely lost the plot. But she goes back to Australia and starts figuring out how to become an actress because of a drug-induced hallucination.
A dream, yeah, but that dream, what that dream showed her is what she wanted, what she actually wanted. That was actually her dream, and she'd been probably pushing it down. But the morphine brought it out, so drugs can do you some good.
You see, so this is like parental pressure, like her dad basically has forced her to become a lawyer, and she's becoming one. She's becoming the best one. And it does make me wonder how many other girls at that school had the same kind of pressure, who actually also wanted to become a Hollywood actress.
Oh, yeah.
But didn't contract malaria.
Yeah.
And have a morphine-induced hallucination, so they never went down that road.
Yeah, okay. Around the age of 17, we should all have drug-induced dreams to find out what we really want and who we really are.
Yeah.
There's so many wasted dreams.
Yeah.
You might find out that somebody who wanted to go into the arts actually really wants to be a lawyer, but they don't know it, and they would have been a rubbish actor.
But we know that that's like stage kids, isn't it? A lot of them are pushed into it by their parents from the age of 1, and then actually they don't actually want to do it. Jeanette McCurdy would never have done it.
Exactly.
She was never happy.
No, that's true. That is true.
Poor girl. Part of this change of life that now happens is that she's not Melanie anymore. She decides she's going to become Rebel officially.
Oh, yeah, that happened from the dream. Yeah. She named herself properly and actually just took on a new persona with a new goal. Yeah. It was a major turning point.
Isn't that interesting? Her mum wanted her to be called Rebel. Her dad said, no, her name's Melanie because she has to go to this very posh school and get a good education. He said that when she was born.
Yeah.
And then that was the life that he forged for her. So the first 16 years of her life, and she went along with it. And then the day that she's like, right, that's all over now, she actually changed her name to Rebel. It's like she's getting back on course to the baby that she was born to be.
Yes, that's right. The other side, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, my God, then. She tries to get into that drama school. What's it called? The National Institute of Dramatic Arts in Sydney.
Do you think that they pronounce that
Nida?
Nida. Do you think it's like RADA? Nida?
Nida or Nida. I did think it'd be like RADA. Has to be, doesn't it?
I would say Nida. Nida? Nida doesn't sound right. Nida sounds like an actor.
Nida.
An actor would say Nida.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We'll call it Nida.
Anyway, she got rejected 5 times. She spent 5 years of her life from like 17 to 22 trying to get into a drama school. And then just in the meantime, she was still trying to become a lawyer as well because she'd done a double arts and law degree. So she was working to become a lawyer, doing odd jobs and auditioning, paying for drama classes for 5 years and being rejected. And on the 5th rejection, she finally went, that's it. I'm going to put on my own play. As a lot of people do, but who knew she was that talented? She puts on her own play and it takes off because she's brilliant.
Yeah.
And it was a hit at Sydney Fringe. Did you go to Sydney Fringe or was that Adelaide?
No, I didn't go to Adelaide and Perth.
Ah, she never did that.
No. And this is before my time. This is 2002.
Oh, yeah.
You say she's good, but you know these fringe festivals, there's a lot of good people at them.
Yeah, there are.
It's also a bit of a lottery, but that's amazing that her first show at the Sydney Fringe Festival gets picked up by a television station they just invest in her talent. They don't put her on TV or anything, but they give her $90,000 to put her on at another theatre. And then industry people come to watch her and a director comes and sees her and says, oh, you'd be great in my film called Fat Pizza.
Oh, yeah. So, okay, partly it's that she's a really funny comedian. She's a really good writer, which she obviously is. Mm-hmm. But the other thing, and she's funny, but it is because she's fat.
Yes,
the
way she looks.
She literally does say it many times. She gets cast because she's the only one who isn't trying desperately to be slim and beautiful. There's millions of them. She's actually beautiful, but larger, so it makes her unique.
And she really leans into that. She knows that's her niche.
Exactly.
She knows that sets her apart. You know, there are hundreds of talented people, but she looks a certain way that is extremely castable in the right productions.
Well, yeah, and yet she's getting rejected from drama school because they don't think she fits the mould. So it wasn't like there was a lot of people playing fat parts but she created almost that role. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, she'd have got into drama school, wouldn't she? If they'd said, there's one of them, we can have one of them.
I don't know. I mean, she just might not have been good enough in the auditions.
Oh, maybe, because she's funny, not necessarily a great actor.
Maybe.
Yes, possibly.
But actually, she goes back because after getting in this film and stuff, and she's done her play and she gets an agent, she actually goes back to NIDA one more time to try and get into this prestigious drama school. And she doesn't. She's rejected again. And then she says years later, she met somebody who was on the audition panel and he said, we rejected you the last time because you were just too good. You didn't need the training. I mean, that could be bullshit.
Yeah, she's like, yeah right, whatever. She's calling it out, yeah. Because who wants to say you rejected someone who becomes massive? Nobody wants to say that.
What's amazing is, even though her career, she's making the first few steps in this acting career, she's still pursuing her law degree.
Yeah, I know.
And she's sleeping on the floor. Her mum and dad are split up at this point. Her mum's downsized. And because Rebel's older now, she doesn't have a room. Her mum says you can sleep on the floor in your sister's room. And she says she doesn't have enough money for the law books to study. So she goes to the library and photocopies the pages that she reads when she's working at the cinema. Yeah. It's like, this isn't easy for her to pursue her law degree.
No, not at all. It was 10 years she was doing that as well. 10 years.
I mean, that's amazing. At the same time, also following her acting career. I mean, she is quite extraordinary, really, to be doing
she really
two
is.
Full-time pursuits at the same time.
I know. She's really grafted. There's no doubt about it. And I'll tell you what, even though she became an actress, the law stuff has really worked in her favour, as we will find out later.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's kind of getting known on the fringe scene and stuff, and then she gets her first big break is where she gets an advertising campaign all through Australia for the biggest telecom brand. She gets $90,000 from that. And this is so nice. What she actually does with a third of that, $35,000, she takes her family on a massive holiday and they go to Disneyland and stuff.
Yeah.
And then because of that film, Fat Pizza, that she was in, they make it into a TV show and she gets the part of the girlfriend of the main guy. And she's so good in it that character keeps getting developed and developed. But because she's fat in it, she really leans into that.
Yes.
Her mum won't watch the show because Rebel is so fat. And Rebel also deliberately makes herself ugly in it because she sees a comedic value. But her mum is so against it all. But then, and then the sketch show, The Wedge, comes up.
So anyway, she's on her way. She got in this TV sketch show called The Wedge. She talks a lot about sexism in that industry, especially in comedy. She's the only girl, and they just don't think girls are funny. So she really has to fight to throw out jokes and stuff just to get screen time. Yeah, no, it's rubbish. There's loads of that.
No, it's just a comedy world. It's just so weird. It's racked with misogyny. I mean, we know most entertainment industries are, but comedy is
really
just this thing. Oh, women aren't funny. And it's just like, well, that's just not true because they really are.
There's the thing.
But it's just a standard opinion that people have. And also, it's like if people put on comedy nights, like with stand-ups, they'll put one woman on. It's like the woman is the token woman. And on panel shows on TV, it's kind of changing, hopefully. But there is just this belief that women aren't funny. So on this TV sketch show, The Wedge, Rebel Wilson is kind of brought on as the token girl. She's the only girl on it. But do you know what? She's very funny and her characters are the most popular. And it gets right up the nose of the boys on the show.
They don't like
it at all. No. And they begin to kind of marginalise her and sideline her. Because she's good. Where are they now?
Yeah, exactly. But she thinks people are more willing to laugh at a woman being funny if they don't want to sleep with her. So she thinks being fat really helps her in that respect to be funny. So these are all reasons for her to justify carrying on eating all the ice cream, you know. To be honest, it does work for her.
Yeah,
totally
no,
works.
for sure. It was all working in her favour.
Yeah.
Yeah. once the boys kind of marginalised, she has it out with them, and she says, "Why aren't my sketches making the final cut?" Anyway, she doesn't like give up or anything. She quietly is writing her own sitcom, and but she's actually doing quite well, because she actually buys an apartment for $380,000 at the age of 26.
Yeah, well, she does say she only put the 10% deposit down. The rest was a mortgage. To be fair.
Okay, but it's still good.
She still at least saved a deposit. Yeah.
So she's written this musical called Bogan Pride, which gets picked up by SBS, a major broadcaster in Australia, and it's a hit. So she leaves the sketch show and the boys behind, and then that becomes a cult classic, and the DVDs make their way to America, and people in the industry like seeing this funny fat girl from Australia who steals all the scenes she's in. And the blinking William Morris agency, one of the biggest agents in Hollywood, call her in Australia and said, "Will you come over for a meeting?"
Amazing.
I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, I love that she stays with her Australian actress mate, Monique, who works really hard in not eating, looking beautiful, going to the gym. She's been there a year, slogging away, getting almost nothing. And she goes over the first day she goes to that meeting. And she says, she actually sells herself. She says, "Look, I'm not just an actress. I do stage and TV. I also write, produce, I create content. And I'm big, and I'm hilarious." And they're like, "Yeah, we don't have anything like you." Of course they don't. So they book her, and she goes back to Monique, who is so depressed, she pretty much leaves America. She gives up.
Yeah, she does.
You would. And she's just about turned 30. I mean, she's not young either. It's her 30th birthday at this point, when she goes to the bridesmaids auditions.
Which was her 30th audition.
It was her 30th audition as well, yeah. Well, Melissa McCarthy got the job she was going for, but they created a part for her, which is brilliant. Yeah, she plays Matt Lucas's sister. Matt Lucas, British bloke, who's also quite rotund. Actually, they're cast perfectly together because they're both hilarious, quite dry. Oh my God, I rewatched those clips of just them together. It's just totally genius.
Oh my God, they're so funny. Yeah.
And they really clicked. And they end up living together for 3 years in Hollywood after that.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
She does these scenes with Matt Lucas on Bridesmaids, and she thinks, brilliant, I've made it. But actually, Bridesmaids takes a whole year to come out. So whilst that's happening, still nobody in Hollywood knows who Rebel Wilson is.
Yeah, I'll tell you what else is shocking.
Yeah.
She only got $3,500 for doing that part, considering that film made millions. And $3,500 is the price you have to pay to join the Screen Actors Guild. This happened to my mate Polly as well. Exactly the same price she got paid, and she has to pay it to get your card, basically. So she basically got paid nothing at all.
Wow.
And because of her visa, it's an actor's visa. You can't do any other job. You can't even be a waiter or a bar person. You have to only earn money from acting. So that's really hard.
So she's spending a lot of time on her own. And she does actually say at this point, she's 30 and she's never had a boyfriend or anything. So what she's basically doing is going to the shop and buying ice cream sandwiches and stuff. And she's coming home and she's really getting a lot of comfort in food.
Yep.
Because she's actually being validated when she does book roles. Over that year, she books a couple of small TV gigs. It's because of her size, I'm presuming. Most of her roles are. So it's validation, she needs to stay fat.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I love that she does. I love that she does a show, one episode on rules of engagement when Joan Collins is guest starring. Here she is again. Joan Collins turns up in these books a lot.
Yeah, being a bitch.
Yeah, Joan Collins thinks that Rebel Wilson is the lunch lady. Rebel Wilson says, "Actually, I'm acting in this with you." I said Joan Collins just scowls at her and walks off. I mean, she's a bitch.
I know.
Oh, good old Joan. Then Bridesmaid comes out.
Oh, yes.
It is a massive success.
Boom, she's off.
And then she gets 6 movies in the 2 weeks after Bridesmaids is released. I mean, how incredible.
Amazing. She's only a cameo, but she's not. She's like the best. I must have seen it.
Everybody's good in it. Nobody steals. They all steal Bridesmaids.
Yeah,
Every single person.
Oh, right. So everyone became famous from that film.
It's an iconic film of its generation. Go and watch. As soon as we finish this, you need to go and watch Bridesmaids. It's so funny.
All right, and you watched Dirty Dancing and Cabaret.
Okay.
Anyway, she gets the part.
Oh, so yeah, one of the 6 movies is Pitch Perfect.
I haven't watched any Pitch Perfect. I watched all the trailers, just reading this, just to get an idea. And yet, they're all slim. They're all really slim, really beautiful, glamorous. And she's big and beautiful and glamorous. She's the only one who's large. She stands out a mile, but she also stands out as being brilliant and funny and confident. It's obviously a legend.
She does stand out in it, because I watched that out of curiosity, because there were so many raves about Pitch Perfect. And you know what? I've always been looking for the next Clueless, because I thought Clueless was such an amazing, funny film meant for a certain audience, which kind of totally transgressed. So everybody enjoyed it. And I got that Pitch Perfect was kind of the Clueless of its generation. And so I watched it, and it is genuinely a very, very good, funny film, full of one-liners.
I'm sold.
But the person who really does steal the show, yet again, is Rebel Wilson. She's brilliant in it. It was a star-making turn.
Amazing. And she says that she improvises all these parts she gets. She improvises loads. That's what she does. She loves it. And when she did Night at the Museum, she says she's just riffing off Ben Stiller and they're just having a great laugh. So she'll take any part and make it better, basically, make it funny.
Yeah, what I didn't know is that she also got her own sitcom on CBS called Super Fun Night. I mean, that tanked so badly that I don't think people even know about it.
Oh, right, yeah. It got cancelled. Was that around the same time her dad died? Was that then? When
it was like 2 weeks before they were about to film, and her dad died, so she had to go back to Australia.
So she was really struggling to get through that, trying to be funny when she was having a terrible time, because she hadn't really talked to her dad in 16 years. Almost on the other page it says she hadn't had a date in 16 years. You know, it's like, what? Don't tell me they're not connected. So she'd seen him, she'd invited him to a premiere, and then cursory talked to him as polite as you can be, but without really connecting, and then he died. You know, so it's messed her up. It's definitely messed her up.
Yeah.
And then should we talk about the bombshell of Sacha Baron Cohen and Other Assholes chapter?
Yeah, Sacha Baron Cohen.
Sacha Baron Cohen and Other Assholes is the name of a whole chapter in this book. And she says she first meets him when she's at Matt Lucas's house where they live. She had a job presenting the MTV Movie Awards. And she'd gone through all her MTV jokes, which I've looked them up. She is so funny presenting the MTV Awards. Hilarious.
Yeah, so funny.
She practiced them in front of Sacha Baron Cohen, who she idolised, and he just went, "Oh, you're in trouble." And just really made her lose confidence in her hilarious...
Offering no help
just jealous.
to her.
Yeah.
Just telling her that she's rubbish. When she isn't rubbish, because she tried them again at a comedy club and she brought the house down.
Yes.
He's being an arsehole.
He really is being an arsehole, but she wasn't sure. She didn't know. So the next thing that happens is he asked her if she can play a part of his wife, actually, in his film, Brothers Grimsby.
Yes.
Yeah, and then there's all this blacked out stuff. She writes some stuff. She says he's insisting she runs around the football pitch naked, which we know from reading this book she's never been naked with another human being, ever. She's never had a boyfriend. She's never, she's not comfortable with her body. If you watch Pitch Perfect, you'd think she was. She seems so confident, but she really isn't. And the other point is it was gratuitous, degrading and bullying, and he was just trying to bully her. And he does sound like an arsehole.
Yeah, he does. And do you know what? One of the worst things I think in this, other than the bullying, because she's such a good improviser, during the scenes, if she come out with a really funny line, Sacha Baron Cohen would be like, "Okay, cut, let's do that again." And then he would steal the line.
That's true. He did say that.
That's terrible behaviour.
That is terrible. That's really bad.
I think there's an unspoken rule in comedy that you don't do things like that. And Sacha Baron Cohen does things like that. I've heard from quite a few people he's not a very nice man.
That's a damn shame. What do you know about this blacking out stuff?
Yeah, so there's the blacked out paragraph in the book because Sacha Baron Cohen threatened to sue Rebel Wilson if she wrote this thing in the book. And it's like the Streisand effect. If he just didn't do anything, nobody would really care that much. It's just another celebrity story in this autobiography. But because literally, I mean, we've read hundreds of books now. There's never been a blacked out paragraph in any of them.
No.
So naturally, you go looking for what the blacked out paragraph says.
Blacked out paragraph is like a page and a half of black lines.
So did you not Google it?
What did it say? I didn't know how.
Well, I can't say, can I? Because there's an injunction. He'll sue us.
Would he?
Like, literally, we can't say it on this podcast.
Have we even said it?
No, how can we? He's got an injunction that information is on.
Oh, right.
No, I know what
Bloody
happened. I don't need to I know what
Can't you say
happened.
it? You think he'll sue you?
Well, I can tell you. No, of course he'll. It's literally, he threatened to sue Rebel Wilson.
Right.
If we said it on this podcast, they would come after us. But basically, one day...
What? It sounds like he was just pranking her.
No, because at this point, he had been humiliating her and bullying her.
Yeah.
She said, no, it's exactly, there wasn't a pranking element about it.
Right.
It's like he was doing it to deliberately demean her.
Right.
And she said, well, she just wanted to run away. She said she was actually frightened.
Wow.
Because he's the big guy on set and everybody around are his yes men.
Wow.
So that was a really awful experience for her. And then that film wrapped. And then she had to go back and do some extra scenes, again, which he wanted her to be naked and to be sexy. And in the end, she had to compromise. I mean, this went to a boardroom with lawyers and everything.
Right.
And they both sat across a table figuring out because he needed an extra scene in the film. So she had, after all of this, she had to agree to go back and do a sex scene with him where she was open mouth kissing him and everything.
She was very much compromised in what she was being asked to do and totally humiliated. And she does say, well, because I wasn't physically attacked, maybe I should stay and finish. And she does. It's massive, massive bullying. There's no question about it. He's out of order.
Yeah, he's dickhead, so we should talk about him no longer.
No longer. Yes, let's talk about Rebel Wilson, the excellent woman. Okay, so in 2015, she's 35. She goes, I've got to lose my virginity. I've got to. She says, when this book comes out, it's going to be the headline, because nobody would have guessed that she's a virgin at 35. You wouldn't, because she does seem so confident in herself.
Yeah.
And sexual, and she's gorgeous. But yeah, she's like, I've got to sort it out. So she basically picked someone who desired her. But as soon as she got famous, a few more people did desire her. She says, desirability has nothing to do with weight and everything to do with the confidence you project. That is totally true. But she said she used weight as an excuse to avoid intimacy. Which is definitely what she did. So yeah. She's had a couple of boyfriends. They're not really worth mentioning because she gave it a good go.
She did, and this didn't work. And she's nice about them. She
Yeah,
says, I had
nice
a nice time, but it just ultimately didn't work out. And that's just life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, her career took a dive because she had to take out a defamation case against these business billionaire bullies.
Well,
who is Bauer Media from Australia.
Yeah, I think one of her old schoolmates kind of got in touch with them and sold a story saying Rebel Wilson's completely made up her backstory. Her real name's not Rebel. She's not 29. She didn't go to Africa and get malaria.
Yeah, it's all a lie.
This stuff.
And it was all true.
Yeah, and she said that actually impacted her professionally. She had film contracts and she kind of got dropped. She says it's hard to kind of say specifically it was because of these news stories, but it was one hell of a coincidence if it wasn't.
Yeah.
And then she had to go in court for like a whole week and just justify, prove that her life story was true. And of course it is. I think she said apart from her age.
Yeah.
She was 35 in Hollywood, but actually saying she was 29. No, I think that's fair enough.
Yeah,
I think everyone does that.
Yeah.
And they were found guilty and they had to pay her $5 million for loss of earnings. Yeah. And then when that all came out, she started being employed again.
Yeah, like instantly, yeah. She got her reputation back. Yeah. And then she got Pitch Perfect 3 and The Hustle.
Oh, I love The Hustle. Have you seen it?
Yes, I have seen The Hustle.
Yeah, it is Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, isn't it? For women.
Yes, which was a brilliant film.
And again, because she produced that and they actually wanted to slap a higher rating on it because of the language. And then she went to a big hearing saying, no, there are films made by men who have the same language with a family rating just because we're women. And she absolutely went in. Yeah, she's taking on the industry, man.
Good on her.
Yeah, there you go.
No. An actor-lawyer is a brilliant combination, turns out.
Then she comes to London to do Guys and Dolls. Did you see her?
Yes, I did. I did see that.
Ah, how was she?
And I even one night went to the Ivy with all the backstage people, and she was with them. She was there. And I was having a drink, and I was going, and that's Rebel Wilson standing there. You know, if she's hanging out with backstage people, that makes her all right in my books. But it's weird because, you know, you have no idea what's going on with people. You know, you have no idea that she's struggling with her weight or that her dad had just died and that, you know, at Guys and Dolls, one of his mates, her dad's mates had come to find her at stage door. One of the mates who knew about the drugs connections.
Yeah.
You have no idea what these people are going through or what anyone's going through, to be honest. You think someone's successful in Hollywood and you just don't know the half of it. Ever. Unless you read these books.
They should read these books.
Yeah.
So look, we've run out of time, but just to quickly, so basically she has an affair with a tennis player, a lady, and she kind of chases her around the world. And
yeah, it's not an affair. She just realises, well, right, you have to say this. She does a film where she is playing a lesbian and she has to kiss this actress, Charlotte Gainsbourg. It's called The Almond and the Seahorse. And it came out in 2020. And she kisses this actress and realises that it's okay to kiss a woman. She's absolutely never thought it was. Thought it'd be weird or different. And she realises it isn't. And around this time, she's had this massive crush on this tennis player. And it was like, is it, isn't it? Is it? And nothing was happening for about 3 years or some really ridiculous time. And she kisses this woman in the film. That's her first woman kiss. And goes, good grief, that was all right. Oh, I wonder if I should explore this side of myself, she thinks, after being in love with this tennis player. And then so she goes on a date that her friends have fixed her up on. And the first date is Ramona Agruma, who's the love of her life. There you go. It happens like that, basically. Oh, no, this is other good point. She has a year of fun in 2018, which makes her just go and party and actually remember who she is instead of just this workhorse. Then 2019 is the year of love. She goes on 50 dates with 50 different men. She actually learns to talk to people and interact properly. This is really good training. Then 2020 was the year of health, where she's been on a million diets. She not only diets and becomes healthy, but she actually does it alongside therapy. So you can get to the root of why you're eating and trying to create barriers. You can't do anything like this if you don't have therapy alongside, because it starts in the brain. That's the answer. Those 3 years, she's sorting herself out, which leads her to love, real love. But actually, the year of health came about because she decided she was so single, but she wanted a kid and she was 40. So she went to the doctors and they said, you'll have a much better chance with IVF if you're healthy. And that really shocked her. So that's what spurred her on to get healthy. Tried IVF multiple times, failed, and ended up with a surrogate and a wife.
They seem very happy, don't they?
Yeah, so she lost loads of weight, got a gorgeous bird, married her, now has a kid. So everything's coming up roses.
No, that's the boring bit at the end of a really interesting life story.
Oh, it's not over.
No,
though.
it's like she assimilated into what everybody does. Up until that point, she was this really interesting woman with an interesting life.
I know your point, but she's not slim. There's actually a point in this story where she describes she was so fat she went on a walk in Beverly Hills and ended up having to shit in a bush because she wasn't going to make it home.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the podcast.
That's not healthy.
Oh my God. I'll see you next week. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Thrift Shop Biography. We love making this podcast and we're absolutely thrilled that so many of you are already listening. You could really help us out by leaving us a review somewhere, wherever you listen to this podcast. And if you could share us, tell your friends about us, or drop some links on social media. We have a Facebook page called Thrift Shop Biography, so make sure you come over there to hear about the episodes first and what else we're up to. Okay, see you next week. And if you're new here, there are loads more episodes now to go and listen in the back catalogue, so make sure you go and enjoy them. Okay, thank you very much.